In this video, we will configure a static NAT translation on our firewall. So here's what we're going to do. On our internal network, we have a web server, which is connected off of our server farm right here. And this is the web server and the IP for that server. So we can access that web server from any computer on our internal network. So here on our user computer, let's open up a web browser and enter the IP of the web server. Okay, so here it is running a simple web service on that server, but from the inside, we can access that server directly. However, from the internet, that is not possible because that server network is not routable on the internet. What we need to do is configure a translation that will allow outside devices to access this web server. To do that, let's go to Policy and Objects, then to Objects, and let's go to Virtual IPs. Here we will create new. We will enter a name for this VIP, which will be used for our web server. And this translation will be applicable from our WAN interface. So that is very important. We must choose our WAN facing interface. Okay, for the external IP or range, this must be an IP address that is provided to us from our provider or from our WAN subnet, which is the most common. So we will enter a dedicated IP, which is what users on our internet cloud will use in order to access our web server. And we'll do the same IP and put it over here as well. Now for the mapped IP address or range, this will be the internal IP of our web server. Okay, and when we are done, let's go ahead and add this new static NAT. Now let's go to our policies page. So we'll go up here to IPv4 and we will add a new policy. The flow for this policy, it will start from our internet into our internal network. That means that the incoming interface this time will be our WAN facing interface. And the outgoing would be the LAN internal interface. The source will be any IP on the internet. And the destination would be the VIP that we added for our web server, where the external IP was 172.168.106.5. So here, we also do not need to have any other extra NAT configured, so we'll go ahead and turn this off. And for the service, we only want to allow HTTP access to our server. So we will select only HTTP. And that is it. So let's go ahead and create this new policy. And now we see that policy listed under the section for WAN to internal LAN. For testing, let's go to our computer that is connected on the lab internet cloud. And let's open a web browser and access that web server using its dedicated external IP address that we configured within the VIP policy. And that will be, let's close this up here. And that will be the IP address of 172.31.106.5. And we are able to access the web server externally. So going back to the policy page, let's move this aside and refreshing this page. We now see that the count for packets and the bytes has incremented, meaning that our test matched against this policy. We can monitor this further by going to our policy monitor page. And there you will see that policy ID number 3, which is our web server policy, has one active connection. Let's view those details for that connection. And here you will see that the source came from our internet computer. Let's get more details. And here we're going to add some additional fields that we can view on this page. And some that's going to include things like the destination address, destination NAT address, the destination NAT port, and destination port. And let's say OK. Okay, so now our active session has cleared. So we need to start a new session. So let's go back to our internet computer and refresh this page. And let's go back and refresh this page. And now our active session is back. So let's go into it and then into the details of this source. Okay, so here for this monitor, let's move here to the right. You will see the actual destination address that was used by the internet computer and the destination NAT address, which is the real IP on that server. And of course, you will see the destination NAT and destination NAT port being port 80 or HTTP, which is what we wanted to allow. So this page provides a great way for monitoring how NAT works, of looking at what's being translated. So that's why we added those additional fields to show you that particular information.